Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to, I forget the episode, but Critical Conversations. Today we're going to be talking about, it's a breaking news item. It's the global Sumud Flotilla. And let's just jump right into it. I just wanted to highlight this comment, right? So much BS, no one believes Israel anymore. Israel isn't starving Gaza. Hamas is, that's the quotation, right? That's what Israel says. Okay, then we'll bring aid directly ourselves by boat. That makes you Hamas, right? Wanting to bring aid makes you Hamas, subhanAllah. And that's exactly what we've seen. So what is a flotilla? A flotilla is a small fleet of ships and boats. And what we're going to talk about today is the global Sumud Flotilla, but flotillas have been going towards Gaza since 2008. And there was a case in 2010 where 10 activists were killed by the Israeli military, by the Israeli oppression, the Israeli occupation force. But yeah, in 2010, when trying to deliver aid, at 2010, when there was another blockade against Gaza, right? Again, open air prison. So the global Sumud Flotilla, its purpose was to break this current siege, this current blockade on aid and food in Gaza, right? Currently, and this must never be forgotten, right? Is that the reason why these ships are going is because there is currently a famine, a man-made famine to kind of, let's say, subhanallah, like unseen proportions, right? Taking place in Gaza. They're saying that 500,000 people are currently severely malnourished, right, and at risk of death by famine, right? So that is a significant chunk of the population. So little aid is let in, right? I mean, what was being let in before was still a blockade, and it was still too little. And we're talking about at the beginning of the conflict, and at the beginning of the genocide, and then what's it called? About 5 months ago, they put a complete blockade, so nothing went in for about 2 months, and then they let 10% of what they were letting in before go in. So it's incredibly little, and we mentioned this before about they'll put those aid centers in areas, round up a bunch of Palestinians to collect this aid, and then mow them down with machine guns. And there's videos of this, subhanallah. But anyway, there was a flotilla that took place in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm trying to find it here. There was a flotilla that took place in June. I'm pretty sure that was called the Freedom Flotilla, and that had Greta Thunberg. Yes, so notably, it was the Gaza Freedom Flotilla, and that took place June this year. And that's where Greta Thunberg went on. That's where a bunch of other activists went on, and that was what Piers Morgan, a week after saying, "Oh, I suddenly think it's a genocide. I suddenly think, it might be a genocide." Then he's like, "Oh yeah, but Greta Thunberg's gone on this selfie boat," right? As if he has any place to speak about what's it called, doing things for attention. Greta Thunberg, subhanallah, may Allah guide her. Yani, she came out and she went on this flotilla in June, and they were all detained and sent back. And then we had the global Sumud Flotilla, and this is the biggest flotilla in history, right? This is the biggest, what's it called? And nothing like this has been done before, right? Or to this scale, sorry, right? Like we said, this has been an ongoing thing from 2008. And so, yeah, its purpose was to break the blockade in Gaza, right? The flotilla was said to be the largest civilian-led maritime convoy in history, comprising over 50 vessels. So there were 50 ships of varying sizes departing from multiple ports across the Mediterranean, all with the purpose of delivering aid and food to Gaza, right? And we mentioned Greta Thunberg, along with Rima Hassan, Tiago Avila, and Yasmin Akar, were in this flotilla, and they were also members of a previous flotilla. And then we had others, right? Such as, and we're going to show videos now, and many very famous, activists. Importantly, and like I said, we're going to see his video very soon, is the grandson of Nelson Mandela, right? This is a family that's well aware of apartheid, a family that has, let's say, a history with fighting apartheid, right? And they're currently fighting the apartheid right now in Gaza. And so, yeah, the flotilla set sail between August and September of 2025, right? So not too long ago, but they've been with convoys departing from Genoa on the 30th of August, and Barcelona on the 31st of August. So they've currently been at sea for about Bismillah, sorry, just checking if that's too harsh, right? They've currently been at sea for more than 2 months, right? And they set off from Genoa, Barcelona in Tunis, and Catania. And we're going to go over exactly the timeline. So the Spanish convoy, notably carrying Greta Thunberg, right, uh, departed on the 31st of August. And then they were sent back because, I mean, so this is all civilian cruise ships kind of thing, right? Oh, not cruise ships, sorry. These are all civilian boats. Yani they're nothing. They're they're not made for big convoys like this. They're made for just recreational sailing, and these were all used. And we're like reports of boats, right, that are meant to carry 8 people carrying 20. So the overcrowdedness, I mean, this really wasn't like a cruise ship. This really wasn't something easy. We're talking about the water desalination plants in the ships, or the water desalination systems in the ships not working. So they struggled to clean it. They struggled to keep the ships afloat. So many of the ships had to be sent back, right? And Greta Thunberg herself had to be sent back in the first night because of storms. So these ships aren't meant to wave out these really critical conditions, but they're doing it anyway. And this is a push by the people for the sake of Palestine and for the sake of breaking that blockade. It shows that when the world's governments don't act, that people have to act. Uh, what's it called? Within one day of departure, members aboard the flotilla were already reporting unidentified drones following them in international waters. And we're going to go over again. It's no surprise. It's no surprise. But Israel's, blatant breaking of international law by what's it called? Intercepting boats on international waters. I mean, it clearly breaks the rules of international law, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that Israel doesn't care about that. On the 17th of September, 24 vessels from the combined Spanish and Tunisian convoys approached the southern tip of Sicily, where 17 more boats in the Italian fleet joined them, right? So 17th of September, and an extra 17 boats joined. On the 23rd of September, the first boats from the Greek convoy reached the shores of Crete. So uh, and then later that night, 15 drones circled low above the Alma ship for several hours in an interval of every 10 minutes, right? The following night, numerous ships, including uh, Zefiro, were damaged by drones. And these are all reports, and there's videos of some of these attacks, some of these drones that came down, dropping bombs on the people. Alhamdulillah, no one died, and there were some attacks around the boats as well, just as warning signs, right? But no one was dissuaded. On the night between the 8th and the 9th of September, the Global Sumud Flotilla member Yasmin Akar reported that a drone had struck the main ship of the convoy, the Portuguese family Madeira. And at this stage, it had reached, kind of enough international clout where the Italian Navy, the Turkish Navy, the Spanish Navy all said that they would come to protect the flotilla and to provide it aid and, and food if they needed it. And if anyone needed to go back to shore, they could be picked up. But there wasn't actually part of it, right? It was just kind of, and it wasn't like a defensive barrier around it, protecting it from the IDF. It was just like, wait, we're going to send one or two boats next to you just to help, right? It's not a bad, again, it's a good thing that they did, but it's nowhere near enough, right? And this isn't, uh, this isn't an actual stand from any of the governments. On the 30th of September, it was announced that the Italian Navy would stop escorting the flotilla. Before we go over that, sorry, right, I just want to share my screen and let's watch this video here. One second, sorry, one second. So this is Nelson Mandela's grandson. Subhanallah. May Allah bless him. So what he's saying here is, well, firstly, look at the significance of this man. This is the grandson of the main activist against apartheid, one of the most influential political figures in the past 100 years, right? And Nelson Mandela, the man who fought against apartheid, his own grandson is out here fighting against the apartheid of the Israeli regime. We're currently seeing videos of different boats within the Sumud Flotilla being bombed. And there was just an interesting note here and something that I thought was very much notable. That the Palestinians are experiencing a far worse form of apartheid than the South Africans ever experienced. This is the grandson of Nelson Mandela. So you can't say, oh, he's biased and he doesn't care about the South African struggle. No, this is a man who was engaged in the South African struggle, or his own granddad was the main figure in the South African struggle. And subhanAllah, he's saying that the apartheid faced in Palestine is way worse. And the reality is that's when there isn't a genocide, right? So in the West Bank in Gaza, right, and even in Israel, Palestinians are treated worse than second class citizens. And when they're not being killed, the apartheid that they face is a lot worse, right? But obviously, most of the time, they are being killed. Yes, sorry. So on the night between, let's go back. Let's go back. Bismillah. One second. Was that just visible? Subhanallah, Yusuf, if you could let me know. You're saying black screen. I really can't tell. I really can't tell. Yeah, subhanallah. Sorry. So yeah, and then sorry, we were talking about the whole timeline of events, and then let's go over what happened very recently. So on the 30th of September, it was announced that the Italian Navy would stop escorting the flotilla. And at the end of the very same day, once it had reached a distance of 150 miles from Gaza, oh, sorry, yeah, that's what they said when it reached 150 miles from Gaza. At the same time, the Turkish naval forces and the Ministry of National Defense of Turkey confirmed that they would continue to secure the flotilla's safety if needed. Later that day, at around 4:55, it was reported that Italy reported, it was reported by Italy that more than 20 unidentified ships were approaching the flotilla, right? And then 5 o'clock, so 5 minutes afterwards, fighter jets of the Royal Air Force were reported to have been departed from Cyprus towards the flotilla. 5:25, Israel sent its first signal to halt all operations of the flotilla, and that is what I want to show you here.
In a place where you are committing war crimes. This is against international law. Once again, the International Court of Justice made a provisional ruling that any attempt to hinder a humanitarian mission to Gaza is prohibited by international law and is complying with the request to make you accountable for the crime of genocide.
So that's that, subhanAllah. Sorry, I just realized that you couldn't see the Nelson Mandela screen. But khair, inshallah. Um, Yes. Let me go back. And then at 20 minutes after this, the interceptions officially began, right? And then that is what I want to show. Just so that you know, they know they're on video. So obviously, the Israeli military was prepared for the PR knockback of this, and so they were obviously far softer than they were in 2010 when they killed, an extra 10 hostages. This is the main boat, and this is when it was around now. Sorry, is when it was intercepted, right in the timeline of events. So 3 days ago, but there were still, like we said, 50 boats in the flotilla. And I don't think it's included in this video, but you see Greta Thunberg. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Right. You see Greta Thunberg. Being given her hat and being given a jacket. They're doing this for the image of it. They're doing this so that people think, oh, we're treating them well, kind of thing. No, 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 don't worry about these people. But well, firstly, it's a shame that it's a shame that their lives and their well-being is deemed as more valuable than anyone in Palestine. But at the same time, they're still doing this purely as a PR move, right? And they have been prepared for this. That's what they've been preparing for, right? But still, I mean, what they've done is they've stopped a boat of aid getting into people that need the aid, right? I mean, it's just destroyed. Everyone knows they don't have credibility, but it's just an extra evidence of that. And then this is like reading, war files. 6 o'clock on 6 o'clock on. We were talking about, sorry, the 30th of September, right? So 6 o'clock on the 30th of September, it was announced that the mission would continue, even though the head boat was intercepted by a flotilla. Then around the 2nd of October, around 13, so we're talking about yesterday, 13 vessels were intercepted. That was the very beginning, So 12:40 in the morning, in the dead of morning, right? Around 13 boats were intercepted. Then 5:45 of yesterday, 20 boats were intercepted. By 7, 10, 23 boats were intercepted. And by 12 o'clock, the Global Sumud Flotilla that confirmed that it had lost all contact with the ships except for the Marionette, which was still sailing at the time. And on the 3rd of October, meaning today at 7 a.m., the Marionette was intercepted. So that was the end of the Global Sumud Flotilla, but it's not a failure of a mission, because in reality, the amount of aid that they were going to deliver was inconsequential for the population. But what it was opening that doorway to deliver aid. Is that Israel's closed all other doorways, right? It closed it from Egypt, and I didn't say this, but actually, Egyptian activists wanted to join. One of them went to deliver first aid and was arrested by the by the Egyptian government, right? So, subhanallah, all of the neighboring countries have a blockade on Gaza. And this is an effort by a civilian group, a non-governmental group, right, to deliver aid to these people, and it's being intercepted, and it's just a hope from people to open a doorway of getting aid into Gaza. So it is symbolic, but at the same time, subhanallah, it is a very powerful symbol, and it's something that we were hoping would open. I mean, in reality, we knew the Israeli military would, or the Israeli occupation forces would stop it, but it was hopefully to get that doorway open, uh, to deliver more and more aid. But it started a movement. So obviously, this isn't a failure. I mean, in a sense, you've made martyrs of these flotillas, and it's started a cascade event. So around 3 days ago, an extra two flotillas, two sets of boats, two sets of ships set out for Gaza. One of them called again the Freedom Flotilla, and subhanallah, yani just and also, I mean, this has had incredible reverberations amongst just your average people. If I show you this clip here. In Rome.
Today, now, every city around the world is standing for Gaza, is standing against genocide.
So subhanallah, it just shows the massive effects that this has had, right? Alhamdulillah, it hasn't been a failure. It has shown the world that there is a possibility. And subhanallah, 50 vessels, right? I mean, these are civilian vessels, but these are just recreational vessels. But they were able to get so close to Gaza. And even when they were being intercepted, they weren't intercepted in one go. It shows that firstly, the Israeli military is human, right? Obviously, and they broke their illusion of some sort of superpower, or let's say some undefeatable force a long time ago. But subhanallah, I mean, how long they were able to keep going after the first interception, which was like 3 days. So when the next flotillas are sent out, and inshallah, instead of 50 vessels, there'll be 500 vessels, then some of them will reach, or Israel will have to kill a civilian population, or have to kill civilians of other countries, which they're willing to do. But it just further erodes any Israeli standing in the wider global political sphere. So that was just a quick live stream on the global Sumud Flotilla, and just on the note of imprisonments. So activists were arrested and transferred to Kedziot prison in the Negev desert, where severe abuses against Palestinian inmates have been reported by human rights groups such as Beit Salem. So they're being thrown into the same prisons that Palestinians get thrown into and end up coming out as corpses. Subhanallah, I mean, we're sure the same isn't going to happen to them as would happen to a Palestinian, because there's other governments keeping their eye out for these people. But Allah Alam. Still, it's important to see, it's important to know. And inshallah, that was just a summary of what's happened. May Allah give them victory. May Allah accept their efforts. And inshallah, there's been a benefit. Barakallahu feekum, and inshallah, we will live stream again on Wednesday. Like I said, and like James said last video as well, inshallah, weekly live streams every Wednesday on Palestine and the wider Muslim world and how us as Muslims can benefit the Ummah. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.